Good evening and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard and we are linked in with the following repeaters.
Oh, we're following some repeaters, are we? Looks like we have Buckhead, Flagship, Jersey, McDonough, Lula, Rome, Watkinsville, Columbus, Noonan, Toccoa, Dallas, Peachtree, Zebulon, Ocala, Fort Mountain, Lookout Mountain, White Oak Mountain, Cades Cove, Mount Roosevelt, Ottawa, Chattanooga, and Georgetown. The Zello VoIP service is currently down, so that's not a connection. But hey, if you're trying to get us on Zello and you can't, try YouTube instead. I think that you'll be able to monitor just fine from YouTube instead of Zello, and you can check in with the chat function in the YouTube live stream. So search for North Georgia GMRS in YouTube, and I think you'll be able to find our live stream pretty quickly.
Tonight, RRF coverage encompasses approximately 41,000 square miles. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 947, WQYR 514. My name is Julie.
In Atlanta 946, WQYR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we would like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we would encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it's permissible to address other members of the net by name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and when you sign out of the net. Also, you can tune in to our YouTube channel and follow along. Or even better, tune in after the net and hear how you sound to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment so we know you are watching. These interactions mean the most to help our channel grow. So tonight's topic is NG GMRS website. But before we dive into that topic, let's turn it over to Justin. Are you going to do the announcements?
Yeah, I don't know that Free Salad is going to be able to come in. Let's take a little break and see if Mike is able to. But I think I'm probably going to do the announcements. Mike, are you there?
This is WRWM 344. Blue Ridge 63. I am here. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, Mike. Go ahead. Glad you were able to join us.
All right. Well, let's run through this week's announcements. I just got the script pulled up here. So this week, we'll be talking about web tools on our net this evening. But before that, I do have some upcoming gatherings and events to tell you about that are right around the corner. Write these down if you're interested. These are always a great way to meet fellow members in and around your area. First one up is the Kennesaw Gathering. They'll have their next Meet and Geek luncheon on Monday, July 7th. That's this coming Monday at noon at the Old Town Grill on Cobb Parkway, right around the corner from the McCollum Airport in Kennesaw. Bring your radio if you have programming issues or need to update your code plug. Ed and the gang will have a mobile test bench where they can test and program many of the most popular radios after the lunch. Reach out to Ed beforehand, Atlanta 557, on air or via email at wrqg806@gmail.com if you're planning to attend, so he knows how many seats to reserve and also any radio programming cables that he might need to bring. Next up is the Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch. If you're in that area, they will be meeting up in July. Tune in next week for more details. I haven't been given a date for that one yet. The West Side Luncheon is coming up on Saturday, July 13th at 11 a.m. at the Taco Mac. The address is 2650 Dallas Highway in Marietta. The Rabbit Hole crew may or may not be there, as they have some family matters they continue to attend to, but we encourage all the regulars to attend and save a seat for David, Lisa, and Seth and Belinda, as we hope to get back to the routine very soon. Let me break. Moving on around the network, the Northeast Bunch will be having their monthly lunch meetup at the Roosters Cafe in Dahlonega on Wednesday, July 30th at 11 a.m. As always, all current and future members are welcome. For information, contact Bobby, Atlanta 403, or Joe, Gainesville 44. They hope to see you there. For our new members, as well as any guests listening in, and I see from the YouTube channel we've got a handful listening in tonight, let me give you a quick rundown of the weekly nets, the programming that you'll hear here on the network. First up, the Ladies Roundtable Net is the first Monday of every month. So the next one will be this coming Monday, July. It starts at 8 p.m., and you can check in at that time just like any other net. Being as at the roundtable, if you aren't there right at 8 p.m., you can listen in as the conversation goes. When there's a break, you'll be able to check in, just say comment, and Jennifer will get around to you on the roundtable. Tuesdays on the northern region of our network, that's the Chattanooga region, feature our Skywarn Net. This is a training net for Skywarn weather spotters in coordination with the National Weather Service, only available in the Chattanooga area of our network. Wednesdays feature a short ERCnet at 8 p.m. This is a roll call net, and it's closed to North Georgia GMRS members. It is for ERC members only, so please refrain from checking into that net unless you're an ERC member. On Thursdays, the regional net, that's this net right now, starts with early check-ins at 7 p.m., and the program officially kicking off at 7:30. This net covers a variety of topics, and every now and then it's worth tuning into. We usually try to post those topics on our Facebook page earlier in the week, and we encourage all members to participate by checking in with your radio, or if you're unable to on RF, join us on the YouTube channel. We stream the net live, and you can hear your appearance on the network. I have a note here, there will be no Friday night at 9 Simplex Challenge or 2-meter challenge. Tomorrow, Friday, July 4th, in honor of Independence Day. That group plans to return to normal programming for the Simplex Challenges next Friday, July 11th. Happy 4th of July, everyone. The Rabbit Hole Net is all about preparedness and appears every other Sunday on the network. The next episode will be this coming Sunday, July 6th, featuring guest hosts Dana and Jonathan. The topic is rabbit wings and best sauces, but honestly, they will discuss anything regarding preparedness. Early check-ins start at 7 p.m., and the net begins at 7:30. There won't be a live stream this week, but hopefully they'll be returning for more of the Rabbit Hole the following week. Let me break. For the amateur radio licensed members among us, the Appalachian Trail Golden Packet event is Saturday morning, July 21st, up on Springer Mountain. If you'd like to know more about this digital 2-meter event, and you're up for a little hike to the top of Springer in late July, reach out to Atlanta 26-FLIP by sending an email to justin@nggmrs.org. We hear from time to time that folks would like to get more involved with things related to the network. The best way to get involved in the inner workings of the network is to show up and serve at events like this. This is how we get to know our volunteers and how most of the North Georgia GMRS regulars came into the positions that they hold. They showed up. So if you'd like to get engaged with the network, send an email to Justin. Again, that email is justin@nggmrs.org. If you are a lifetime member, or if you need to make updates to your information, if it changes, we need your current email address. If anything else changes, let us know that. You can go to the North Georgia GMRS webpage at nggmrs.org, click on the Existing Member Information Update link, fill out the form, indicate that you've read and agreed to our Code of Conduct, and submit that form. That's it. That's all I've got for you this week. If you have any questions, comments, or news to share in our upcoming announcements in future weeks, please send an email to justin@nggmrs.org. And with that, I'll send it back to Justin. This is Blue Ridge 63. Back to you.
All right, Mike, thanks for all of those announcements, and hope all is well in the bunker under the mountain, and look forward to hearing stories of those adventures real soon. Let's see, I think Mike sent us a picture of the bunker. Let's see if we can find that. No, I'm not seeing it here, so we'll dig that up at some point through the evening. And man, I couldn't get away from it a minute ago. Now I can't find it. Okay, secret location right here. It is. So that's where Mike's hanging out this week, somewhere under the mountain. So what do you think those padlocks hanging off that red box are all about? I don't know. We should probably put a different image up there. It might be giving the state secrets away.
Maybe a red phone, maybe?
Red phone? Yeah,
red
maybe,
box, red phone?
Maybe. That's the Ham Shack hotline, I'll bet you. It locked up inside that box. That most likely is the case. But in any case, glad to have you along tonight. Thanks for helping out with the log. And we'll make some additional spots for you to check in and out as we go. So with that, Julie, what have you got queued up there?
I think we're going to go ahead and move on as we typically do with this week's tips and operating procedures.
Fantastic. Let's break.
All right. This week on the new user tips and operating procedures, we will revisit GMRS radio etiquette. We have new users come to the network all the time, and in fact, we have over 174 new members that have joined the ranks so far this year. While this may be old news to longtime users, our newest friends may be hearing this for the first time, and it's always a good reminder for us old-timers too. We are talking about proper etiquette of GMRS radio on the North Georgia GMRS Network. Many new folks who have just programmed their radios are curious if they're making a repeater and will key up, then unkey to listen for the repeater's delayed unkey or tail squelch. North Georgia GMRS linked repeaters do not have a tail squelch or a courtesy tone. These features create chaos on the linked repeater network and are not used. The FCC requires all transmissions to be identified, so the practice of kerchunking repeaters on any band is bad form, and it's unproductive. Please don't kerchunk the repeaters, and please don't blow or whistle into the microphone. The proper way to check to see if your radio is making it into the repeater is to key up, call out your FCC call sign and your tactical unit number if you have one, and say, radio check. New users are sometimes a bit mic shy. We've all been there. I can't tell you how many times I've had new members tell me they're intimidated to get on the air because they're unsure of the lingo. North Georgia GMRS Network encourages our users to engage in conversations without the use of lingo or words with cryptic meanings. What I mean by that is for you to have an ordinary conversation like you would if you were talking to a friend on your phone. When talking on your cell phone to a friend or a family member, you don't use words like Roger or over or 73s. Save that kind of lingo for CB or amateur radio. Let me break. The only thing that is required that you would not do when speaking on your cell phone is to identify yourself with your FCC call sign at least once every 15 minutes while on the air. Other than that, using the radio is pretty casual. Our goal as a network is for our novice users to never be intimidated by the traffic they hear. FCC Part 95.1731 says that permissible GMRS use is the operator of a GMRS station may use that station for two-way plain language voice communications with other GMRS stations and with FRS units concerning personal or business activities. Did you catch that? It said plain language. Further, in 95.1733, the rules also indicate coded messages or messages with hidden meanings are prohibited. Even though the FCC rules makes an allowance for 10 codes, North Georgia GMRS Network does not. 10 codes are not permitted on our network. Q codes are common in amateur radio, but coded messages are not allowed under FCC GMRS rules. We strive to maintain a family-friendly atmosphere on North Georgia GMRS Network. While you may hear the occasional Roger or over used on the network, it isn't expected and it's not encouraged. What is encouraged is plain language communications. A simple conversation, just like you were in the presence of family or friends. To begin a call out on the air, you would call the station you wish to talk to first by using their tactical unit number. Then identify yourself with your tactical unit number and your FCC license number. This will identify your transmission, which meets the FCC requirement, and it requests a response from the person you wish to speak to. Let me break. If I wanted to make a call out to Justin, Atlanta 946, it would sound like this. Atlanta 946, Atlanta 947, WQIR 514. A second call may be repeated if there's no answer. But if still no answer after the second call out, then please clear and give your full ID. It might sound something like negative contact, WQIR 514, Atlanta 947, clear. An open call may be initiated by simply stating that you are monitoring. It might sound like WQIR 514, Atlanta 947, monitoring. And if you hear such a call, feel free to respond to that call with your ID and engage in a conversation. That's an open invitation to chat, so we encourage you to do so. The FCC call sign at the beginning of a call isn't required, but it is good form. No matter how you come on the air, the most important thing is getting on the air. We will coach you through the rest, and our users will help you along the way. And don't forget to slow down and leave some space between transmissions. Ordinarily, repeaters act pretty fast and will activate immediately if your signal has the correct tones. But in a linked repeater network, additional time is required for the linked devices to connect and carry your traffic to the distant machines. If you don't pause briefly, the first syllables of your transmission may be lost. I'm sure many of you have heard this. So we remind our longtime users and our newest friends that we must avoid quick keying the repeaters for the best communication experience. Each time you key, allow a moment for the repeaters to link before speaking. And each time someone unkeys, allow a moment for someone else to insert a comment if they want to join your conversation. This pause will also allow for an urgent message to be broadcasted if needed. Also, it is important to note that if your conversation goes on for more than 15 minutes, be sure to break and invite other users to call out if they have traffic. Let me break. Quick keying can make it difficult for other interested members to participate or urgent messages to be transmitted. Inclusive and welcoming communications are our goals, and we would like all our members to be able to join any conversation in progress by keying up and saying comment or your tactical number inserted between key ups. It might take a couple of tries to get acknowledged, so don't give up. Once acknowledged, it's customary to rotate turns to talk in the conversation. This is what we call a round table. Another good tip to keep in mind is that conversation should be held on this network as if children are listening, because often they are. We are aware of inappropriate activity on the air, and this should just show what one or two inconsiderate people can do to take enjoyment of the network away from so many contributing users of a network like this. Conversations you would never have in front of your kids or grandkids have no place on this network. Sensitive conversations such as disputes, discussions of politics, religion, or any uncomfortable, divisive topics should be moved off air or avoid it altogether, as stated in our MOU. Our Memorandum of Understanding is the terms of service document we all agreed to when we became members of this network. One more thing to consider. We have new members joining almost every other day. Mentioning our names along with our tactical unit numbers helps new folks learn who we are, and it helps us learn new members' names. Let's keep this in mind when hopping on the air. These are just a few of the practices that makes us the best radio operators on the North Georgia GMRS Network. I hope you'll tune in next week for my next episode of Julie's Tips and Operating Procedures. And if you have any questions or suggestions for new user tips and operating procedures, send me a note at julie@nggmrs.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network. And with that, we're going to pass it to Justin.
All right. Well, thank you. Did you hear that? Did you hear that big boom?
Yeah. Was the
Yeah.
fireworks started early?
Well, these are practice rounds, and
They're just getting warmed up.
Oh yeah. By the time we're finished tonight, there'll be a haze or a cloud of
Probably.
smoke and gunpowder kind of floating in the air, and tomorrow it'll be like that by this time.
Wow.
It'll be.
Sure.
It's a war zone around here.
Yeah.
It's
Our
really
neighbors love fireworks.
It's really interesting what happens this time of the year. People are very excited about the coming holiday. We have a little something that we'd like to share with regard to the 4th of July. And it's a fascinating story. At least I thought it was fascinating about the origins of the Star-Spangled Banner. So, do you have that ready?
I do, if you'd like for me to go ahead and dive right in. So, how the Star-Spangled lyrics were born, and this is by Ray Kavanaugh. On the 4th of July, Americans celebrated with myriad renditions of the Star-Spangled Banner may well know that the lyrics were the handiwork of Francis Scott Key, who composed his immortal poem while watching the Battle of Baltimore. But fewer people are likely to know what led Key, who was a lawyer, not a soldier, to witness the battle in the first place. The answer comes down to the saga of one Maryland doctor. In late August of 1814, the British had marched to the American capital and also invaded Maryland. When they made their way to the town of Upper Marlboro, which had been largely abandoned, they found one Dr. William Beans, the town's primary landowner and a patriarchal figure in the community, who had elected to remain. When the British arrived, Dr. Beans greeted them as friends and even offered up his estate as a makeshift headquarters for British officers, who accepted the offer. Their time together had been amicable, but a few days after the officers departed, word reached Dr. Beans that British soldiers were looting the abandoned farms of his neighbors. The doctor formed a small posse of Maryland residents to round up these soldiers and held them in a local jail. One of the detainees managed to escape, and he went straight to his leaders to tell them what Dr. Beans had done. The British officers felt betrayed that the doctor they had spent time with had chosen to treat their soldiers in such a fashion. Let me break. So, in the middle of the night, a party of British horsemen rode up to Bean's front door, crashed into the house, and pulled the doctor out of bed. Taken into British custody, the doctor, despite being a gentleman of 65, was brought to the Royal Navy ship, the HMS tonnant and thrown in the brig. Such treatment of a prominent citizen was unusual in that era. Fortunately for Dr. Beans, he was a well-liked and well-connected man whose seizure and incarceration did not go unnoticed. A gifted and charming 35-year-old lawyer named Francis Scott Key was enlisted to try to help him. Receiving the consent of then-President James Madison, Key, who accompanied by prisoner exchange agent John S. Skinner, boarded a flag of truce ship and headed down the Chesapeake Bay toward the British. Key and Skinner found the British officers still highly indignant. Prepared for this, the Americans then produced letters from British soldiers who had been wounded during the recent Battle of Bladensburg. These letters expressed much gratitude for the kind and effective treatment they had received from American doctors. This heartfelt literature had such a profound effect on the British that they decided to free Dr. Beans. Let me break. Upon his release, the doctor went with Key and Skinner to the truce ship where, due to the outbreak of the Battle of Baltimore and the Royal Navy's attack on Fort McHenry, they were forced to wait and witness. A chorus of booming cannons and exploding rockets riveted them throughout the night. When morning arrived and Key saw that the American flag still flew above Fort McKinney, he was so moved that he began composing the poem Defense of Fort McHenry, which we now know today as the Star-Spangled Banner. It wasn't until 1931 that a congressional resolution signed by President Herbert Hoover made the Star-Spangled Banner the U.S. national anthem, an anthem that never would have existed had a lawyer not been asked to help out a doctor. And that is the rest of the story.
Oh, it's just like Paul Harvey.
That's right.
Well, I think that's a fascinating story, and I really enjoy the tale behind something that is such a prominent feature in our patriotism. So something I had no knowledge of until just a few years ago when we found that story, and I think that's a great story. So for those of you who are planning to celebrate on the 4th of July, be careful. We hope that you have the same number of fingers and toes on Monday as you have today.
Yes, that is important.
You know, there's some really impressive fireworks available out there, and some of those things can really hurt you. So if you have access to more than the fireworks stand fireworks, you know,
just be careful.
Be very careful.
And don't light up the table with a flare.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is a story.
It sure is.
Let's break. So good stuff. I think that's, what else do we have? We have...
That's pretty much all that I had. So I think we, unless you have something else, can go ahead and begin check-in.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's continue with check-ins. And just as we've started off doing things backwards, let's continue. How's that going to work? Flagship?
Flagship. Let's begin with flagship repeater.
So flagship check-ins only, please. If you're checking in from another repeater, please hold your traffic. This went really well in the first round of check-ins, so let's see how it plays during the net.
Net control. Net control. This is Gainesville 76, WRUH 751, John and Gainesville. Check me in and check me out, please.
Net control. Atlanta 255, WSAM 586, Jen in Dawsonville, in and out, please.
This is Chattanooga 260, WSDM 494, Colt, from downtown Dalton, Georgia.
This is WSFH 294, Gainesville 420, Nick in beautiful downtown Oakwood. Check me on in, check me on out. Be monitored.
This is
WRWM 256, Atlanta 256, Chuck in Costinville. I'll be in and out.
Is SFY 564, Chattanooga 253, Roy in the hole in Dalton, Georgia, and I'll be in and out.
Atlanta 739, Glen in Canton, WRKN 627, checking in and out, over.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins, and then I'll acknowledge the YouTube check-ins immediately after. Let me see if I can get this back over to where I can see it. I was looking at the other screen there. There we go. I should be able to drag this over here. Yeah, it kind of messed me up here. We're a little bit short-staffed, and we're doing the best we can here, which is nowhere near as good as we do when we have tall staff. But we'll figure it out. So we have Gainesville 76 John in Gainesville, in and out. Atlanta 255 Jen in Dawsonville is in and out. Chattanooga 260 Colt is in with us tonight. Gainesville 420 Nick in Oakwood is in and out. Atlanta 256 Chuck in Dawsonville is in and out, and we also have Atlanta 256.1 Holly is watching Chuck to make sure he doesn't potty on a rug. Thank you for that, Holly. We have Chattanooga 253 Roy in Dalton is in and out. Atlanta 739 Glenn in Canton is in and out. And let me go ahead and catch up with some of these YouTube check-ins. We've got Gainesville 63, Willard in Homer. We have Atlanta 1158, Nick in Jasper. A guest check-in from WSIN 223, Tim from Atlanta. We have another guest check-in from WQAI 363, Adam in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. We have Atlanta 1150, Tony in Canton. Atlanta 164, Dan in Marietta. And Atlanta 165, Julia, also in Marietta. WRQE 398 is a guest check-in. R. Ferguson in Hayesville, Kansas. We have Atlanta 927 Connie in Buford. Atlanta 785 Rick in Marietta. Chattanooga 32 Scott in Rossville. We have a guest check-in from Miko, WRYQ 727 from upstate New York. Thanks for hanging out with us again, Miko. Chattanooga 69 Ronnie the Velvet Alvis from Rossville. We have Atlanta 1195 Tom in Atlanta. We have Atlanta 261 Scott the Canton Man is checking in on YouTube from Holly Springs. Columbus 25 Peter in West Point. Glad to know that you made it to the YouTube channel, Peter, because I know that you're one that often monitors on Zello. I know that doesn't do you a lot of good the rest of the week, but at least you can hang out with us on YouTube for the net. We're working on it. I don't know when we'll have a replacement application in place, but trust that we are working hard towards coming up with an alternative. Next, we have Atlanta 420 William in Roswell is YouTube check-in. Atlanta 168 Tyrone in Jefferson. And Rome 11 Mark in Adairsville, as well as Gainesville 58 Jonathan in Oakwood. WRWY456. Dave in Rogersville, Missouri. Gainesville 100. Randall is a relay from Atlanta 250. We've got him in. That's what we have in log at this time. We're going to continue taking check-ins from any repeater anywhere, including flagship in places far and wide. So YouTube check-ins continue, please, as well as any repeater anywhere.
Roosevelt 17 WSBW 903, Keith in Rockwood, Tennessee. In and out, please.
Is that all we get?
It's going silent. Thought there would be a few more.
Well, I mean, we got a really, really strong number, so 65 at this moment in time. There's another one.
This is WSCE 395, Robert in Chatsworth, Georgia.
This is WSGS 735, Noonan 40. Orestes in Palmetto, Georgia. Checking in and be standby.
Might just send it a picture.
All right, just a short round of check-ins this time. We heard Roosevelt 17, Keith in Rockwood is in and out. The guest check-in, I believe we heard WSGT 395, Robert in Chatsworth. And we have Noonan 40, Orestes in Palmetto is in and standing by. So we've got you marked as in with that, Orestes. And also we have Atlanta 519, Gary in Marietta. Gary, if you're... Oh, you fixed it.
Yeah, the lower third.
Yeah.
Yeah, did a little magic trick.
Fantastic. All right. As long as you know and Gary knows, that's really what counts. So, all right. Very good.
But you can't ask me how I did it because I may not be able to tell you. I just hit a few buttons and it went away. So
that's how I roll.
Right.
That's oh.
It's got a 50-50 chance.
Yeah. That's how we make things happen around here. So, very good. All right. So tonight's topic is the North Georgia GMRS webpage. And, you know, had we been paying closer attention to the calendar when we put these topics together, we might have had something that was more focused on the 4th of July. And I think that probably many of us have 4th of July celebration plans. My daughter's coming into town, and we're just going to have some fellowship and some quality time with my daughter, my granddaughter, and hopefully my son-in-law. Well, not sure. I think he's probably looking for an excuse not to come. But in any case, you know, the family stuff. You always kind of feel off. He's the outsider. He's the in-law. So he's very, very welcome, and I very much appreciate him and who he is. But there's always been a bit of awkwardness. So I get it because I feel it sometimes too. So. But yeah, if we want to talk about 4th of July plans, cookout, family, fireworks, etc., we can do that also. But really, I really wanted to convey, and I've been wanting to do this for a while, some of the features of the North Georgia GMRS website. I think it's one of the the most underrated assets that we have as an organization. And there's just a huge amount of information on the webpage. I hear people ask questions all the time that could easily be answered by a few clicks on the webpage. So I would just encourage folks to kind of follow along tonight and just be ready to be engaged with tonight's topic. So and we'll dig into that as we go. And I've lost the... Oh, it was a tab on that other browser. So let me grab this again. I can grab it right here. Maybe I can. Should be right there. And there we go. So first on our roster here, we have Blue Ridge 63 in the undisclosed bunker deep under the mountain. Free salad. Did you have any significant 4th of July plans you'd like to talk about? Do you have any questions about the webpage?
This is Blue Ridge 63. No significant 4th of July plans. I'll be back out at the bunker and back at the cabbage patch in Blue Ridge tomorrow morning. And I imagine we'll probably participate in some noise-making activities of various types. Enjoy some of those with the kiddos, and but otherwise, no significant plans. Maybe grill out and just have a good time. Celebrate our freedom, and be thankful and grateful for this country that we live in. I forgot what your second question was. Something about... Well, I don't know. Back to you. What was the second question?
Well, I'm just having visions of, a pack of firecrackers and a chicken coop, and the expression thunder chicken comes to mind. I don't know what that means, but I hope there's a video. But, yeah, the next question was, the North Georgia GMRS webpage. What do you think is the most significant and informative feature of the North Georgia GMRS webpage?
Oh, it's probably a good thing the kids aren't listening, because they very well may try to make the thunder chicken happen. We won't tell them about that. The North Georgia GMRS webpage, one of the features that I appreciate the most, I have two favorites. The first is our linked repeater network map. I think it's handy, and I stare at it during the course of the nets. I've got it up throughout the week. I think it's handy, and it's a cool visual interactive element to be able to look at the map of our broad repeater network and see where folks are queuing up from. You can access that from the main homepage of the North Georgia website. You'll see a map with all the locations of the repeaters plotted, and when someone keys up on one of those repeaters, that repeater will light up. And I think it's a fun way to just visualize, again, how large the network is and where you're talking to other folks from. I like that feature. And then the other is the roster. I think it's cool to watch. I think you mentioned earlier we'd had 117 new members join up this year. I think it's cool to watch those numbers grow. And if you need to find somebody, you forget their TAC call, you talked to them the other day, the roster is a great way to look people up, get their TAC call number, or refresh yourself on who you were talking to. So those are the two things that I reference the most on the website.
Yeah, very good. The roster, I think, is a really important tool, because it makes looking up our calls that we hear on the air, and looking up just information about some of the traffic that we hear real easy. It helps us to associate names with TAC numbers that we hear. And, oftentimes one of the questions that we hear that probably the website doesn't answer real well is, what is a TAC number? All right. We had someone just last week that was really confused about what a TAC number was and what it's for. And the way that I like to explain a TAC number is, in amateur radio, you have a call sign, and that call sign is your identification. That's who you are. Your call sign is an individual identity. But in GMRS radio, your FCC call sign covers your entire family. And so because it covers the entire family, if you call out to someone using their FCC call sign, you might not, the family might not know if you're trying to call. Like if I called out, I don't even know what your call sign is, Mike, but if I called it, how would Melissa know that I'm not trying to call her instead of you? She might answer thinking that I very much would rather talk to her, and in many ways that is true. But if I had intended to reach out to you, that call sign doesn't designate that. And that's where the TAC number comes in. So another way to think of that is that the FCC call sign kind of serves as your family name or your surname, all right? So that's your last name. And then the TAC number identifies individuals within that family like a first name would. So that would be something that I would like to share with a lot of the new folks that are out here that are wondering, just what a TAC number is, because clearly there's a lot of confusion about that, especially for new folks. It's not obvious when you first venture into radio, and it's one of the more common questions that we do get. But I think that the next thing that I would want to talk about on our webpage would be the repeater information. So, Rogers, if you want to grab that again, we'll kind of navigate through some of that. And yeah, it's around here somewhere. It's one of those buttons. Just mash them all. There you go. All right. Because that's how I would do it. The repeater information page. So we have over 24 repeaters that are part of the network, and this is a piece of data that you can use for programming your repeaters. It shows the name of the repeater. It shows the receive and the transmit frequencies for those repeaters. So this is the receive frequency that you program your radio to. This is how your radio gets programmed. You receive on 462, you transmit on 467. All right, and the PL tones are listed here as well. Some of the tones are digital tones, like for instance at Flagship we have a digital tone of D114N. If your radio has an I or an R, that stands for inverted or reverse, or so it may be an N and an I, or a N and an R, but we don't use inverted or reverse digital tones anywhere. All of our digital tones are going to be normal, or not inverted, or not reverse, or whatever verbiage your programming software has. So we don't use reverse or inverted on any of our digital tones. We do have a combination of analog and digital tones. Let me break. We prefer to program our repeaters with analog tones. However, whenever we encounter issues with other nearby repeaters, or even distant repeaters, or issues with users, we typically will then switch to a digital tone to make it more difficult for someone to accidentally hit the tone and cause interference with the repeater. A lot of simplex users will put tones on their radios even though they're not really necessary, and then when they key up, they're activating a repeater and they don't even realize it. So that's something that sometimes simplex users will mistakenly do. All right, so that page right there, I think, is an important page, and it's one I think we can expect some interesting changes in the future. I'm not sure what those changes are going to look like, but there's stuff happening, and I'm excited about things that are brewing in the background, and I can't really talk about it yet, but stick around because I'm probably going to spill some sort of beans, and Gary will have to send text messages and tell me to be quiet. But for now, just be excited, and I'll tell you why later. So jump back to me, and then let me grab this and move it off. Do we have a? Here it is. Okay, so let's see who's next. We after Mike. We've got Atlanta 317. David in Sandy Springs. David, did your guest ever make a check-in?
Atlanta 317. That's a negative. I did not hear him. Yeah, on the tone page, I keep that in my iPhone. Every once in a while, you might encounter a time when your radio will blank out one side or the other. It's good to have that handy with you. Even put it on a cheat sheet. Keep it with you in the car or something, in case all of a sudden you're talking and you can't, nobody hears you. Could be your tones have gotten lost. My Ocean does that every once in a while, so it's a good thing to keep that handy.
Well, I don't think I've ever had a radio that's done that, but I suppose if that's something that you've encountered, that would be a handy thing to have. And, you know, you can access that from your phone as long as you've got a cellular or Wi-Fi connection someplace. You can always go back to the North Georgia GMRS webpage. And I would encourage you to do that from time to time. Even if you have it saved somewhere on your phone, go to the webpage from time to time, because we do occasionally make some changes. We try hard to resist making any changes to PL tones once they're published and once they're established, because, you know, it's not the easiest thing in the world to reprogram your radios every time a frequency, a PL tone gets changed. So we don't want to do that unless there's a strong reason that pushes us to do that. But there have been, and there probably will be again, and at some point you'll want to have that updated info. But that's very good, David. Let me ask you, do you want to see if you can call out to your friend? Do you have his call sign? And see if he's willing to check in?
I did not have a pen handy. I believe his name was Tim Tucker from Tucker, close in. I invited him, told him all about the North Georgia GMRS Radio Network. Apparently he'd been to our page before because I was talking to him on Monument and mobile, good radio, good signal, good modulation, which is kind of a different aspect for a newbie. He sounded strong and, as we all say, very clear.
Well, that's good stuff, and hopefully we'll hear Tim check in at some point. And just want to remind folks that, you know, if you're not a member of North Georgia GMRS, we invite you to check into this net or any of the nets at any point as a guest. You just need a valid FCC call sign to participate in any of our nets. Radio checks and things like that are also welcome. If you're trying to radio check our network by kerchunking, there's no tail squelch. As Julie mentioned in her tips, there's no tail squelch. You'll never hear a courtesy tone or tail squelch on any of our linked repeaters. Now, I understand the Monument repeater has a is it a tail squelch or a courtesy tone?
I think it's a tail squelch.
So you'll hear that after you unkey. You'll hear the repeater come back with a squelch tail, but we can't do that with the linked repeaters. And what has happened early on in our linking development is that as you unkey your radio to end your conversation, once that unkey happens, the tail squelch from the repeater triggers a new message in the Pi network, and it causes all of the repeaters to key up momentarily, which causes additional tail squelches, which causes additional Pi messages, which causes additional tail squelches, and that can cascade for several cycles before it settles down. And the solution was just to eliminate everything after the transmission. So once you unkey, the repeater sees a single unkey and doesn't try to generate a new message until there's actually a new traffic being sent. That's cleaned up the network tremendously, and that's why there is no tail squelch or courtesy tone. So we heard during the 10-minute break and earlier before the show started, we heard some kerchunking going on, and the MDS tones from the Motorola radio. We ask that you turn your tones off. We know how cool the Motorola MDS is, as well as the Roger beeps and all of those other tones and sounds. Kenwood has a trunking feature that makes a distinct sound at the end of a transmission. We don't really want to hear any of those things. There are many people that monitor this network all day, every day. And those things are cool to hear if you're listening for an hour or during a net or, whatever. But they really get to drag on you when you hear them all day long. So we ask that those features be disabled and turned off on your radio. So for new users, they may not realize that. And when you do come on the air with the tones, somebody invariably will say, you need to get into your radio and figure out where that program is and turn it off. And so unless it's a Radioddity radio, then just don't even use it. But Bobby's going to have a comment about that, I'm sure. But good stuff, David. Thank you for that. Let's move on to Atlanta 1126. Joseph in Snellville. Joseph, do you have any holiday plans for the 4th of July? Do you have any questions about the North Georgia GMRS webpage? Atlanta 1126, Joseph in Snellville. All right, we're going to show Joseph as in and out and continue right on the roster. We have Atlanta 121, Rex in Dawsonville. Same question. Any 4th of July plans? Any questions about the webpage?
Atlanta 121. And we're going to go down to the in-laws for the 4th of July, hang out, do a little barbecue, listen to some fireworks. Do love the web page. I like to carry the map around with me. It helps me know when I'm traveling around the Atlanta area what repeaters I need to be on to get the best signals.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I leaned on kind of a lot when that feature first came available, because not being from around here, it's kind of, I don't know my way around and what's close to what, and so if we were going to Marietta, I kind of wondered what would be my best repeater if I'm in Marietta, or if I'm in Atlanta, what's my best repeater if I'm down in Atlanta, if I'm up in Chattanooga. What's my best bet for a repeater in Chattanooga? And if I go to Blue Ridge, which repeater do I want to be on if I'm in Blue Ridge? And the map is a wonderful tool for that. And the other thing that the map does, the map will show you where traffic is originating. So if you hear somebody come on the air and they're not broadcasting from Studio Vanguard, you'll see a repeater light up that shows you where that traffic is originating. So that's a really cool feature that helps you to know what kind of coverage you have and where you're at and where the person you're talking to, where the traffic that you hear is coming from. So I agree. I think the map is a great feature. Have a great time with the in-laws and be careful with the fireworks, especially around kids. And but most of all, I hope that you have a great time. And we'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks for that, Rex. Next on our list, we have Atlanta 403. Bobby is at the Vortex. Bobby, are you planning on minor explosives? And what's your favorite feature of the North Georgia GMRS website?
Oh, yeah. It'll be a couple of day fest over here at the Vortex. I'll be here tomorrow and on Saturday, too. And, we got a little bit of stuff to to do an aerial display, and Joe made a run up to Tennessee, so we'll be pretty well set. And yeah, the website, I've been using it for years, and always did like the map. Let me break. And I get a lot of use out of the roster to see new people's names and areas they're in, that kind of thing. And it's the website's been a thing I've been using for years, 8-9 years now. So I have no problem with it. And only suggestion I can make is like for some of us that kind of lost Facebook somehow. I don't know how that happened, but maybe put a little spot for like announcements and stuff if you could. I know, you need somebody to be on top of the website, but that would be kind of cool if you had a spot for like little announcements and updates, that kind of thing. Throwing it back to you.
All right, good stuff, Bobby, and I think that's a good suggestion. You know, we have enough events that are somewhat regular, but the dates always change a little bit. You know, the second Saturday, the last Wednesday, I can never keep it all straight. So having a page that had, some of those events and links to the restaurants so you could look at the menu, that could be pretty convenient too. Of course, those guys up in the Chattanooga area have their luncheons. I think they're on Fridays, but I never know if it's going to be at Sugar's or at Champy's or in somebody's pasture somewhere in the Chattanooga region. I don't even know where that pasture is. So maybe one day I'll have to take a day and go explore the northern region's lunch gathering. But I know Champy's is good. I've been there. That's a very, very good, great fried chicken at Champy's. I love that. But and you guys hanging out over at Roosters, that's also a great place to enjoy a meal and some fellowship. And so if you have the opportunity to engage in any of these regional gatherings, I know there's one over in Peachtree Corner. That's one that you typically go to, right?
It is, and that's hosted by Pamela, Atlanta 849 and 848.
So, any of these luncheons are a great opportunity to meet other radio enthusiasts and learn more about the network and some of the things that are going on. It's a great social activity. We've got the Rabbit Hole meets over at Taco Mac in Marietta. They've got some family stuff going on, so they may not be there the next time or two, depending on how things play. They were absent from the last event, but we encourage people to show up anyway. Even though David and Lisa can't be there, there's nothing that stops the rest of us from going and enjoying the fellowship and the meal, and because that's really what it's all about. So even if Pamela and Ernest couldn't make it to JR's Log House on any given week, I would hope that people would still show up and fellowship and just kind of enjoy one another's company. So I love going to meetups like that because these are additional friends that I make and people that I know now. So now when I hear them key up, I'm like, oh, that's Patrick, 240. Isn't it funny sometimes to hear a voice? And Patrick has a distinct voice, right? So when you hear him key up and begin to speak, you immediately know that's Patrick. So, but when I first saw Patrick, after having heard him on the radio, I thought that voice and that face, I never would have put that together.
Right, yeah. Very distinctive voice, but but like I said, that's how you meet people and make new friends. And if I hear Pamela on, hey Pam, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna check, hey, you coming to JR's? What's going on?
That's right.
It's a great way to get out and meet other users.
And I think that it's also a great way to kind of learn a little bit about radio and radio people. So you can go there, you can ask questions. In fact, Ed, Atlanta 557 hosts a gathering. Where's that gathering at? It's at the Old Town Grill in Kennesaw.
Kennesaw, right.
It's right there on. I drove past it recently, and I thought, oh man, it's the wrong time, but I would love to catch up with those guys. It's right off of 41, So Cobb Parkway, whatever you want to call that, it's down there by the airport, the McCollum, not the one way south, but the one up in Cobb County. My son used to go to Civil Air Patrol. We would hang out at the airport for a couple hours once a week. We did that for a year and a half, and it was kind of a neat time. But in any case, go hang out with Ed, because one of the things that they do at Ed's gathering is if you have questions about programming your radio, you can reach out to Ed prior to the luncheon, let him know what radio you have, and he will bring, let me break. He will bring his computer, and he will endeavor to find software for your radio, and he will help you program your radio after they eat. So they do it after you eat or before you eat?
Probably during, maybe. I
Even
don't know.
I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been able to attend. I've got a stack of radios for Ed to program.
But that's useful. I mean, we can all help each other. Someone may need a cord or extra coax cable, and you never know.
And that's just it. Like for instance, my programming cable for my HT, my Anytone, I can't find it. I know I've got it, but I can't find it. So, do I order one? Do I borrow one?
I could have just bought mine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or I could send my radio with you and just have you fix it up for me.
That's true. Just do a little flash. Boom,
I like that idea.
And then got it all. Just one button.
And so one of those things might happen. It's hard to say, but yeah, I need to get that radio programmed. There's a bunch of stuff I need to add to that. The radio in my truck, I still need to get some things programmed in there. And there's a brand new repeater that went on the air today that I'm not allowed to talk about, but I want to get those frequencies in the amateur radio. Am I allowed to say amateur radio? I didn't say
my
that.
My lips are sealed.
Nobody heard. Nobody heard any of that. Oh, there's my text from Gary. I'm in trouble now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Neither do I. So that's yeah. Bobby, did you have anything else you want to talk about with regard to the website? While I read this scathing, scalding text that I'm getting.
No, I'm pretty good over here. No problem. And, you keep that top secret information top secret. And, have a good 4th of July, everybody. And I'm sure I'll be talking to most of you people on the radio over the weekend. And we'll be here at the Vortex blowing up White County. So we'll be listening. WRAT 241, Atlanta 403. Back to you, Net.
All right. Well, be careful. It's my understanding that tannerite is dangerous stuff if it's used improperly. And I mean, who doesn't want to use it improperly?
Yeah, always be careful.
Be very careful. Seriously, some of these things are. When I was a kid in Indiana, sparklers. And the little things that you could light up that would expand, like little worms or snakes or whatever, that's all that was legal in the state of Indiana when I was a young man, when I was a kid. And then when I was a teenager, well, those were the only things that were legal. But we lived about 3.5 miles from the Ohio state line. And there was a fireworks shop that had 2 buildings. One building was on the Ohio state line, and the other building was on the Indiana side of the state line. So if you were from Ohio, you would go to the Indiana location to buy out-of-state fireworks. And if you were from Indiana, you would go to the Ohio location to buy out-of-state fireworks. And you had to show your ID, and you had to sign a form saying that you promise to take these fireworks out of the state before you set them off. And with that, you could buy anything.
Yeah, and I know we used to have to go to South Carolina back in the day.
Did they make you sign a form?
I don't recall because I was a kid, so I don't know. But I know my cousins, they would make that trip and come back with a lot of fireworks. But we had to go to South Carolina for that.
Yeah.
I think Georgia is okay now with it, but I don't know. Are we?
I think, well, I tell you, if you stick around and see what the neighbors do tomorrow night, they have some pretty impressive fireworks. You don't need to go downtown to see the show. There'll be one right here in the neighborhood. But, so when I was a teenager, I think, probably right around high school graduation time, Indiana changed the rules with regard to fireworks, and pretty much anything goes. The rule was that you could set off fireworks on the day of, the day before, and the day after a national holiday. So
that's fair.
And I'll tell you, I like that better than what we do in Georgia, because in Georgia, they set fireworks off weeks before and after and in between and occasionally during. But I like you had that period of peace and quiet, in between the holidays. And then people started setting off fireworks for Mother's Day and for, Father's Day and for Valentine's Day and for everything. If it was any kind of a holiday, there were fireworks involved, but at least it was isolated to right around that holiday. Here, there's no restriction on when you set the fireworks off. And one thing we have to kind of consider, let me break. As much as we enjoy the fireworks, the wildlife and many of our pets don't enjoy the fireworks at all. So Doogie he's virtually deaf. He seems to have very limited and highly selective hearing, but he's not fazed by thunderstorms or fireworks or things like that. And the puppy doesn't seem to be disturbed by those things yet either. But in the past we had a dog that became very frightened with fireworks, and she transferred that fear into another dog, who then transferred that fear into a third dog. And that cycle is tough, because once they get scared of fireworks, there's no rationalizing. You can't explain to them that, oh, it's just the neighbors outside, there's nothing really dangerous going on, you'll be okay. You can't make them understand that. If they're scared of it, they're scared of it. And as far as wildlife, when the war zone breaks out tomorrow evening here, I just wonder, what do the birds and the squirrels and the opossums and because they're not deaf, and they're seeing all these bright flashes and loud bangs, and
it's gonna be crazy for them to see that.
Yeah,
like they maybe think the sky is falling down, or
who knows what they'll think, or if it'll bother them at all. Maybe the humans are doing human stuff, and we just need to ignore it. I don't know what the animals do, but it seems like it would be very stressful to them. So something to consider. Keep it limited to a day, and I think that the stress that we inflict on the animals can be contained within that short period. But when it stretches out over days and days and days, that's really, really tough on the animals.
And sometimes, even when I hear fireworks, that first one or two bangs you hear, unfortunately, you had to ask yourself, was that a gunshot or was that some fireworks? So, you hear a boom. Sometimes you can't tell right away. Sometimes. When
it's a distant boom, it's kind of hard to know what it is, whether it was a gunshot or fireworks.
Right.
But if it's close enough that you can hear that crack after,
right,
and you hear that supersonic projectile moving, then that wasn't fireworks. So that's the thing to listen for. But if it's distant, then you don't necessarily hear that. But in any case, it's got to be stressful and tough on the animals. But with that in mind, let's move on next to Atlanta. Well, we don't have a TAC number here. We think we heard WSAF 459, and that was Josh. Josh, do you have any comments for tonight's net? We're talking about 4th of July fireworks and celebrations, and we're talking about the North Georgia GMRS webpage. He may be in and out. All right, we're going to show Josh as in and out. We're going to move on next to McDonough 22 Tim in Stockbridge. Before we do, I'm going to call out to Blue Ridge 63. Mike, have a look through the comments. After we talk to Tim, I want to go to you and see if you have anything that came from the YouTube chat that we want to bring to the air. McDonough 22, Tim in Stockbridge, do you have any 4th of July celebration plans? And do you have any favorite features from the North Georgia GMRS website?
Well, good evening, gentlemen there at Net Control and everybody on the web there. I do, for once, do have some plans for 4th of July. Church that I attend here in Stockbridge is holding a cookout. We're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs and everything starting about 7:30 tomorrow evening. And then we're going to have a big fireworks show after, whenever it gets dark, I think around 9 o'clock, and go home right after that. So looking forward to that with the church family, and they say that this will be the first one I've attended, so they're always get a lot of visitors from around the neighborhood over there too, that not necessarily members of the church there. Let me break. So, the MOU is a great resource. I've been a member here now for 8 years, and I pretty much know most of the things by heart. But for anyone that's new coming on board or recent sign up to our network, should definitely look it over continually, because when you pay your dues and become a member, you're assumed to know and agree to all those conditions that are put forth on that website there. And besides just the rules and terms of use and all that, there's a lot of helpful information about programming and courtesy and all that good stuff right there on the website there. Let me break. Kind of wanted to throw in my one of my pet peeves here, having to do with some of the newbies that come onto the website there. There was a guy just a few days ago on the Facebook page, well, I'm a total newbie. I just, signed up, and I just bought 2 radios. I have no idea what I'm doing. Bought 2 radios and a couple of handhelds, and I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm looking forward to learning and everything. And so my question to you is, why in the world do you go out and spend money on radios when you're a total newbie and you don't know what the heck you're doing? 9 times out of 10, the ones that do that always buy the wrong radios, or either they buy wrong radios that are either too expensive or have limited functions. Some of them, one particular brand in particular, does not have all the PO tones and everything that are needed to operate fully on our network. So they go out and buy these radios, and those actually are some of the most expensive radios out there. But they have very limited function and limited PL tones and all that. So just want to encourage all you new guys and everything, do your due diligence on the equipment before you go out and buy things and spend a lot of money on radios and handhelds. Just because it says GMRS on it does not mean it's right for you. So just look it up and do your due diligence on that. And also keep in mind, whatever equipment you do use must be Part 95 or Part 90 FCC approved to be legal to use on our network, and to be legal to use, period, as far as the FCC, the ruling body of our government that looks over these things. So that's all it from Stockbridge down here, McDonough 22. I'll throw it back to Net Control.
That's some great points, Tim. And yes, the MOU, I think, is that's the terms of service, right? That's what we all agree to when we become members of North Georgia GMRS Network, and having a good understanding of what rules are in the MOU will go a long way toward making sure that you don't get yourself in a situation. So it's actually, we call it the code of conduct, all right? And there's an expectation that individuals will conduct themselves responsibly beyond just the course of being on the air. If you're engaged in felonious activities, we're probably going to remove you from the roster. We don't want any part of those kind of behaviors associated with this network. So these are all things that it's important to understand when you become a member. And I think that Tim makes another great point in terms of why do you buy the radio and then figure out how to use it? Because if you're buying a $50 radio, that's one thing. But if you're buying a nearly $500 Midland radio that has the absolute best marketing material out there, their graphics, their pictures, their advertisements are slick, they're cool, they look great, and it's just not a great radio. It's not a great performing radio. They sell a 15-watt radio for what we would pay for a 45-watt radio. It's just, I don't understand it personally. Why that radio has taken the market like it has, other than the marketing. The advertising that they do is excellent. And I'll tell you, I look at the ads and I think, man, I'd like to have one of those. And I'll tell you, the other thing that Midland does that the other radio manufacturers don't is they sell a package. You can order a package and you can have your mobile radio, an antenna, a microphone, the coax, the whole 9 yards. It's like a mag mount, but you open the box and you have everything that you need in one place to be able to get on the air.
Turnkey system.
And turnkey is the key here, I think. Well, Midland isn't the only place where you can do that. One of the better features that North Georgia GMRS offers is we have our own radio shop. And we have a radio shop that has exactly the kind of equipment that we need to be able to have high quality, high performance, low cost radios that we can put in our hands, that we can put in our vehicles, that we can put in our homes, that will perform reliably for years and years to come. So, we hear about a lot of radios where, they've got a great warranty. I bought a radio and the finals went out, but, I sent it in for warranty and they replaced it right away. That's great. But you know what I hear when you tell me that story, what I hear is that they sold you 2 radios, but they only shipped you one, hoping you wouldn't break it. But when you did break it, they went ahead and shipped out the other one. Now, by the time you break that one, your warranty will probably be over. It's unlikely they're going to send you a third radio when you break your second one. So I hear that time and again, and it's wonderful that they have a great customer service, but let's look a little deeper. Why is that? That's an expensive radio for them to perform as poorly as they do, and for the finals to go out in short order, and it's so common. Several people I know have had at least 2 radios, and in some cases more, Todd. How many radios? I'm not sure. But I would want you to avoid buying that radio because it's just a matter of time. Even if the warranty works for you and you get into a third or a fourth radio with that, using that warranty, and I think from what I've heard, they're really, really good. If you send them a burn-up radio back, they'll replace it with a good radio. But if you're dealing with Kenwood radios, if you're dealing with Hobbit Communications, this is a radio that has a 3-year warranty. This is a radio that's comparable in cost to the Wouxun radios, and this is a radio that you won't be replacing. You're not going to send it back for warranty repair, unless you do something really, really abusive to it. And these radios have circuitry built into them that kind of go into self-protect mode. So if you do broadcast, if you transmit into a damaged antenna, they'll automatically reduce power to protect the radio. So, that's what you get with commercial grade equipment. These are the kind of radios that police and fire departments and truck companies and taxi cabs and delivery services, these are the kind of radios that you'll find in those vehicles. And these radios are built to work in an industry and just be there and ready to play every single day. It doesn't do a bus driver any good to have a bus load of kids and a flat tire and a radio that doesn't work. And, you know, that's something that the industry just simply won't tolerate. So when radios are installed in these school buses, whether it's an ICOM, whether it's a Motorola, whether it's a Kenwood, whether it's a Harris, whatever the commercial radio they're using in these commercial applications, they're high quality radios. And these radios can last let me break. These radios can last a very, very long time and come out of service from that school bus. And sometimes we can buy them used on eBay and reprogram them for our purposes. But if you buy a radio from Hobbit Communications, you're going to buy a high quality radio that will last you a lifetime. And I think you'll be pleased at what's available and the quality of the equipment and the features and accessories. And if you want a turnkey package, you can get it there. You may spend a little bit more, maybe not. You might not, because you can buy the mag mount antenna that comes with the coax, with the mobile radio, and the external speaker, and it's going to come with a hand mic. I'll bet you can buy that for the same you're going to spend on the Midland. Yeah, and you know, even just like you said, accessories. You know, I bought my my Comet 2x4 antenna from Hobbit. So it makes a big difference in receiving and transmitting. Yeah, and for a multi-band antenna, that one's hard to beat. But yeah, I think that those resources on the Hobbit Communications webpage are something that we really, really should take a hard look at. And I wish that we could get new people to go there first. Now, for an HT, you're going to spend considerably more. You can't buy a Kenwood HT for $50 or $75. You're going to spend $350, $400 on an HT, but you're only going to have to buy it once. That's it. You have it, and unless you lose it in a boating accident along with all of your guns, or you know you toss it out the window going down the highway, that radio is solid. You can drop that radio in a mud puddle, pick it up, shake it off, and transmit on it, and it's going to be fine. You can get it wet. I don't recommend that you do. We like to take better care of our stuff, but you can get it wet and it's not going to hurt it. You can get it dirty and it's still going to work. These things are made to be clipped onto the belts of police and firefighters and be treated rough. We use them on the railroad. You know, have these radios clipped to our belts, and we're crawling around on the ballast, digging holes and trying to find track wires. You know, this is a radio that's built to be rugged and tough and take those kind of treatments, and they do. They just do. So. And when it comes to you know, purchasing equipment, you know, there's a saying, you know, buy once, cry once. Yeah. But if you do it right the first time, you're good to go, and you don't have any worries. Well, here's the other thing. I've got a drawer full of Bofang, Radioddity, TYT, I think. I got a drawer full of these radios, and sometimes I just give them away. I tried to give a pair of them away here recently to Atlanta 911, but she gave them back. So I don't know who tipped her off, but I can't seem to get rid of the Radioddity radios. But these radios are perfect because if you've got a neighbor or a friend that you run into that has a passing interest, I've loaned these radios out I don't know how many times to people. Hey, see if you can tune in tonight and listen to the net. People I work with, people I've run into, you know, here and there, family members, you know, carry the radio around, tune it in, and see what you think. Some people will become GMRS users just because of that sort of thing, and you're out an inexpensive, somewhat disposable radio. Not a big deal. Right, and like you said, that may get them to you know, want to explore radio and two-way radio, and you know, simplex. They may have fun just simplexing with you, and you know, you get them started that way. And once they're in it, you know, hey, I've got this radio that a buddy of mine gave me. Why don't you try it out? You know, that's where those radios come in. So, I think they're worth having around, but you really the quality radio is going to be the one that you own. And you don't have to worry about replacing. And the other thing that's cool, let me break. The other thing that's cool about radios from Hobbit Communications is they come pre-programmed for our network. So all of the repeaters that are in service today are going to be in the radio that you buy today. Now, as repeaters change, if we have to change PL tones on a radio or if we have to add new repeaters, there could be new repeaters. I mean...
Could be.
There could be. Gary said we're not putting any more repeaters up this year, but than there was today. So anyway, there could always be additional repeaters to program into your radio. You'll have to bring it back to Hobbit or acquire the means to program these radios. It's not easy. These are commercial radios. The software is not readily available. Older Kenwood radios, you can oftentimes find the software for free. But the new stuff is locked down pretty tight. You have to take it to a dealer for programming, and you're probably going to have to pay to have that programming done. But yeah, the website is a great tool, and the Hobbit Communications is a great asset to North Georgia GMRS Network.
And then also, as I found out, just simplexing and even just, being on the air, you want to have the best possible sound that you can have, the best possible station that you can have. And even I've had to go through different radios and things like that to try to, have the best station possible. So, start off with the right way and start off, buy once, cry once, and, just take it from there.
Very good. Very good. Well, let's see where we're at with the roster and see who's next. It looks like it's Atlanta 250 Dana, who is high atop Mount Olympus. He's not deep under. He's high atop. Dana
sits high and looks low.
Are you going to set off any fireworks from the mountaintop?
Well, first, good evening to you, Justin, and to Rogers there. You guys are holding down the fort really, really well. So, no, up here it's less fireworks, more of Hatfields and McCoys. You can pretty much guarantee you any popping and cracking you hear around you are not fireworks, but in fact ammunition going off. Let me break. That being said, I sit on my porch, and I just listen for it all to happen, and it stays going pretty strong for probably a couple of hours, and then starts backing on down as the night wanes on. But no, I don't personally have any plans for the holiday, but what I will give a plug to, let me break, is, as stated in the remarks, there will be no Friday night at 9 Simplex Challenge or 2-meter challenge tomorrow night in honor of Independence Day. We believe that folks need some family time, and a lot of folks out there have said they would love to do their radios, but I think honoring the holiday is the best bet. Let me break. But, well, what else can I plug? Sunday night, myself and Gainesville 5-8, Jonathan, will be doing our best to carry the torch for David and Lisa Lummis on the Rabbit Hole, to where we're pretty much going to have a round table to you seasoned folks can chime in and tell some of the newer members how you got started with prepping. Other than that, that's it for me, and I'll turn it back over to you. Great job, guys.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that comment in the announcements was still there with regard to rabbit wings. I thought for sure either you or David or Lisa would catch that and edit that and update that to what the actual topic was, because at the writing of those announcements I had no idea. So we're not talking about rabbit wings and appropriate sauce. We're going to talk about, tell me again, Dana.
Oh, we're going to call on each member that signs in to the roster as remaining in, and we're going to see what they can offer the new members that would be listening to the net, any beneficial information on how they got started with prepping. Of course, there are so many things to think about when you're preparing for whatever might happen, and you know, sometimes it's confusing on where to start, and that I hope will be making a little bit more easy for folks to digest, let's say, and get started.
Well, that's a very interesting point, Dana, and you know, I would just offer this because, you know, so many people have an uneasy feeling about prepping, and they just feel like, you know, they watch too many TV shows, and they see newscasts where these people are labeled as preppers, and they're just off the charts, whatever. But, you know, so many of us are off the charts in so many different ways. Everybody has their thing that they're passionate about. And for someone to be passionate about being prepared for any eventuality, all right, by having a stockpile of food, by having resources available to take care of yourself if conventional sources fail. And we've all seen this, all right? We went through COVID, and we've seen the shelves on the grocery stores empty. We've seen the supply chains disrupted from tariff wars and things of that nature. This is not something that will never happen. These are things that do happen, and the consequences oftentimes are things that we can bridge just with what we normally have in a pantry or what have you. But what if it's bigger than that? What if the next one is not Hurricane Helene, but it's a storm that's 5 times the size of that, and it wipes out the interstates, it wipes out the riverways, it wipes out the storehouses. You know, one of the things that came from that hurricane was pharmaceutical warehouses. People couldn't get their meds.
That's very important. Yeah.
All right, so and that's something that's challenging if you want to do some preparedness for your meds. Okay, your insurance will offer you a 90-day supply of medications, right? But you can't get 180 days. Not easily.
Yeah, so what do you do if you're close to, close to the 90 day, but not
if you're
really?
At 75 days,
yeah,
and something happens and it's going to be 3 weeks before you can get any meds, you got to figure out how to bridge that gap. And maybe you can, but maybe you can't. So these are things that have happened and do happen. And so I just want people to know that preparedness isn't about going off the deep end and stockpiling 2 or 3 semi-containers full of ammunition. If that's your thing, that's your thing. And I'll tell you, you hear on the newscast that, the suspect was found with 1,000 rounds of ammunition.
Right.
There's really not very much ammunition. You can blow through 500 rounds of ammunition at the firing range in no time at all. No time at all. So 1,000 rounds is really not that much. It sounds like a big number, and it's scary to people that, 1,000 bullets? Was he going to kill 1,000 people? No. I mean, that's a pretty normal amount of ammunition for somebody to have. In fact, I would think that's kind of a low number. But the way they present it is very scary, very, very headline-ish, very clickbait-ish.
Right.
So I think that we just need to understand that being prepared isn't about being off the deep end. It's about we need to have some of the most basic resources so that when the stores at the shelves are empty, we're not affected by that. We don't need to worry about the fact that somebody made a run and bought all of the toilet paper in Cherokee County. Who cares? I mean, we can bridge that gap, and we'll be fine until the next shipments of toilet paper come in, or they put some restrictions on what you buy or what have you. And I don't know. I still don't understand the 3 seashells thing, but maybe somebody can draw me a picture.
And the thing is, why wouldn't you want to be prepared?
Right.
You know, why wouldn't you have a few extra?
Why would you
this and that?
Why would you allow yourself to become dependent on someone else to fix your problem if something like this happens and you can't get any bread or milk or Pop-Tarts because Walmart's sold completely out of them, and now what are you going to do? So preparedness is a lot more than doomsday preppers. It's not about the TV show stuff at all. So good stuff, Dana. I think you'll have a great time with that topic, and hope I'm able to tune in. With that brings us next to Chattanooga 260 Colt in downtown Dalton, Georgia. Colt, do you have any 4th of July celebration plans? And what's your favorite part of the North Georgia GMRS website?
This is Chattanooga 260 WSDM 494. This is Colt. I am currently going to be on call all weekend. I'm on water rescue, swiftwater dive, cave and cliff. So for all those people who are on the lake and don't know how to swim, or the worst day possible happens, I'm one of those people that goes and handles that. Well, hopefully everybody will be cool, calm, and collected, but as history has shown, that is not the case. So that will probably be my, Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday all-day plans. That being said, a lot of people are trying to get into radio. A lot of conversations happening there. Definitely as the world spins and spirals and ebbs and flows. And most people don't want to get involved with him because of the test. So when you start talking to people about GMRS, they're like, oh, how do we do that? How do we get there? I can't tell you how many conversations. I think I've personally had 5 or 6 people sign up for North Georgia GMRS, including 253 and a couple of others, because of my conversations with them. You take them to the website, you show them how to join. It's pretty straightforward and easy. That is one of the good factors of North Georgia GMRS's website. That being said, going back to the radios, this is a gateway drug for a lot of people, guys. A lot of people just don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how to gain that information. And I think we've got to be a little compassionate with them as they try to find that information, as they buy that $15 ballot phone. And I know there's a lot of conversations if this is able to be on GMRS or whatever else, but the FCC has said multiple times that they don't really look into is if it's GMRS certified or not, as long as they're adhering to the spirit of the GMRS and mainly the power frequencies. If you're not hitting 100 watts, those key things. That being said, I have a very, very, very expensive. I just got my new Motorola APX Next in. It's all band. So that's what I'm coming to you on tonight. Hope that sounds good, and I'll be clear. Chattanooga 260 WSDM 494.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It just hurts me inside to know that somebody spent a lot of money on a radio that's not a good radio. And if they bought one of the cheap radios, it doesn't bother me as much. If you spent $50 or $30 on a throwaway radio, that's no big deal. If you spent $500 on a radio, thinking you had a high performance, kick butt radio, they're just not. They're consumer radios. They're made with consumer grade parts. They don't last, they don't hold up, and they're limited in how they can be programmed. And that's the big thing, as Tim had pointed out, is we use some PL tones that are not available on Midland radios. What's the right answer? Do we have to comply with what one manufacturer limits? I don't think that's reasonable to do. I think that if you're going to use that brand of radio, then you're going to have to accept the limitations that brand offers. And if you don't like that, then I'm sorry, but we've chosen the tones that we use for a reason, and we're not going to change them because of that reason. So every other radio out there is able to access all of those tones. We're just not going to be able to accommodate the limitations of that particular brand. So it hurts me a little bit each time I hear that somebody has spent Woshan money or Midland money on a radio, because that's real money, and that is not stuff that we can just throw away. if you spent 30 or 50 bucks on a radio, you'll learn through the course of nature. That's what you kind of get what you pay for. And I'll tell you, quite honestly, that's what I started off with. Was a Bofang GMRS V1. I don't think you can even get them anymore. I still have mine. Well, I have one of mine. We've had 3 or 4 along the way, and I've loaned radios out several times. Sometimes I don't get them back. I'm not worried about it. It's okay. It's fine. So these are good radios for that circumstance. But yeah, and as far as the commercial radios, like you say, as long as it's a Part 90 radio, and as long as it operates within the limitations of GMRS, then we're fine with it. What we're not fine with are Part 97 radios or radios that don't have any part acceptance, because in amateur radio, you can use pretty much whatever will transmit, right? It's amateur. You can build your radio out of vacuum tubes and variable capacitors and things that you find out of your broken stereo system. Well, probably not today's broken stereo, but anyway, you can build your own transceiver. People used to do that all the time. Nobody does it anymore. That's why the old hams call us appliance operators. Whatever. It's a different age. That's part of the problem in the amateur community, is people haven't really recognized that the ages have changed. But in any case, you can't use those radios in GMRS. Now, the thing you have to bear in mind is that there's no way for me or the FCC or for Rogers, and Rogers is pretty sharp, but there's no way for Rogers to know what radio you're transmitting on unless you tell us what radio you're on. Us. So, I can't do anything about your amateur radio that you're using on GMRS. But as soon as I know about it, now I have to protect the licensing behind North Georgia GMRS. And I can't allow a user to use an improper radio on the network. If you use that improper radio off the network, I have no say in it. But if you use that radio on our repeater network, now we have to answer. You've exposed us to the potential for having to answer for an improper radio. So if I don't know, I don't care. But if you make me know, you will make me care. And I will deal with it. I will have to.
Yeah, have no choice at that point.
That's right. So something to bear in mind. And there again, if it's a Part 90 radio, that's good all day long. I'm good with that. So just things to consider. And these are conversations that we've had to have with members, and they're not always comfortable conversations to have. So there again, I just want to make it known that if you're using such a radio and no one knows, then no one cares. And don't talk about it.
What I've heard people ask, "Hey, what radio are you using?" Do you just not answer at that point? If you
I would just,
or maybe just tell them whatever.
I don't think anybody should lie about what radio they have, but they could also just say none yet, politely. But hey, it's just a radio that I have. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't worry about it. Is there something wrong with my radio? Is there noise or something? No, don't worry about it. And let it go with that. If you're using a Kenwood amateur radio, just say it's Kenwood. If it's an ICOM, just say it's an ICOM. And let it go with that. If they want to know more specifics, say, well, I can tell you on the side, but I'm not going to tell you over the air. Just avoid the conversation as best you can. But if somebody does ask you, specifically what radio you have, as long as it's Part 90 or Part 95, you're golden. So just something to keep in mind there. And so if you're going to be in the first responder community of people this weekend, you are likely going to be very busy. And, I think that they have made such amazing advancements in medicine. My dad had an accident and actually had 2 fingers cut off, all the way. And they were able to reattach and do microsurgery and hook up blood vessels, tendons, the whole 9 yards. Now, he does not have full mobility in those fingers, but he does have motion and strength and can use his hand, and you would never know that it happened. So, Colt, take a look around and see if you can find the fingers before you transport.
That's crazy.
Thank you on that one, sir. Yeah, I've had a couple of amputations. You know, drownings in water, if they go down, we can normally get them back a lot quicker, or we have a lot longer time to get those individuals back than if it's something else, a CPR progress. But yeah, you're right on all those radios. The weirdest thing is, all of our new emergency radios that are issued to us are now issued to us with GMRS in them. EMAs and first responders, they're putting those GMRS frequencies in our radios for communications to other people or rescues. They just found the huge need there for it.
Well, that's great to hear, Colt, and that's exciting to know that the first responder radios will have access to GMRS frequencies, and I think there's a lot of potential there. For instance, if you're gonna go out and do some search and rescue stuff, and you're gonna have 50 or 100 volunteers, it would be great to be able to hand everybody a radio as they're going out to search through the woods or through the mountain, and be able to keep in contact with the volunteers, but more importantly, have your volunteers have a means of communication where they can say, hey, I see something here. I'd like for a qualified individual to come and take a look at this before I step on it. I think that's just smart, because it makes it really easy to deploy a group of volunteers and be able to maintain communications with novices and with people that you certainly don't want to spend the money to have an inventory of your commercial police radios on hand to hand out to volunteers. You don't want them to have access to the frequencies. You don't want them to lose the radio or steal the radio. So if you're going to hand a radio out to a volunteer, it'd be really cool if it could be a $15 FRS radio, as opposed to, a $3,000 Motorola. I think that's really, really smart for the emergency services to take that on and know that that's a potential communications tool for them should something like that happen. And I don't know anything about drowning, so yeah, I'm gonna try my best to stay on top of the water. We used to have a member that would check in. You remember when Ray would check in from the bottom of Lake Allatoona?
I don't know if I remember Ray.
No, Ray always said he was checking in from the top of Lake Allatoona because he was on the north end of it, thinking that the south end of the lake is the bottom of Lake. But in a conversation that Ray and I had, we kind of cleared up just exactly what was the top and the bottom. At least I think we did. But good stuff, Colt. With that, we're going to move on to Noonan 40, Orestes in Palmetto. Orestes, do you have any 4th of July holiday plans? And what's your favorite aspect of the North Georgia GMRS website?
Hey, good evening, you guys. Yeah, my family's going to get together. I got 4 kids, 2 grandkids, and 1 great-grandkid. And they're all going to come over here, and we'll cook some hot dogs and hamburgers and celebrate. We won't get involved in any kind of fireworks, but we'll get together and celebrate. And as far as the website, that is a wonderful website. I've learned a lot from that website. And when I first got started, I don't know, I can't remember how I got the tones, but I got the tones somehow off the internet. And I called out, and some gentleman from Chattanooga answered and explained to me on how to join the North GMRS network, and he was very helpful and courteous, kind, and very informative. And I got on the website and read everything on it, read the agreements and the SOPs, looked at the different pricings and all that, and it was very helpful. And I was able to join up, and got my radios all set up, and I've been enjoying it. I have it on nearly 24 hours. Let me take a break. I don't know if my wife really likes it, but I bought a radio, and I'm in the living room, and I screwed it down to a coffee table with a coax running outside the window and a rooftop antenna. And I learned all this stuff from listening to other people and a little bit of YouTube information. But your website was very informative. I got the rest of the codes off there after I joined. I studied the map. And the other thing I want is I want to be able to get together with people and go to a meeting or a luncheon or something. But I live down here in Noonan, and most of that stuff is way up north, so it's kind of hard to get up there. But one of these days, we're going to get together. I got a surprise visit. Let me take a break. Noonan 120, and I got to talking one day on the radio, and I told them where I lived. And lo and behold, here he comes knocking on my front door and introducing himself to me. And we got together and started talking. And ever since then, there's like 3 or 4 people I know to talk to. But I enjoy it. I leave the radio on all the time and listen to everybody talking. And of course, we got to hear that joker out there expressing himself. But just ignore him and have a good time listening and talking. And I believe I'm going to stick around for a while and get involved as much as I can. Back to you.
Oh, very good stuff, Orestes. And I tell you, that Noonan 120. I think there's a great example of a user that started off on the air with just a radio that was okay, and an antenna system that really kind of wasn't okay. He was hard to hear. It was hard to understand him. His radio performance was very, very marginal. And rather than spend a lot of money on mediocre or halfway equipment, he paid a visit to the Hobbit at Hobbit Communications, and he took the advice that he was given, and he bought good radios, he bought good antennas, and he bought really good coax, and he has an outstanding radio station these days. So Carmine has done a fabulous job and has set the bar for what I wish that many people would be able to do. Now, Carmine has invested kind of a lot of money in his station, but he has a station he can be proud of. And so I tell you, the money that I've spent on radios that are not that great, it's just money wasted. And the antennas that I've bought along the way that are just not, in these days, if I'm going to buy an antenna, it's probably going to be a Comet, and I'm probably going to buy it from the Hobbit because I can get it cheaper from him than I can anywhere else. If I'm going to buy a radio, I'm going to buy a Kenwood radio because I'm going to buy one radio that does one job really, really well. I have the Anytone. I have 2 mobiles and I have an HT. And they're fine radios, but there's so many buttons on the microphone on the mobile. I can't even hold there's nowhere that you can hold the microphone without accidentally hitting a button. So I had to learn how to lock the buttons. The microphone doesn't need to be that complicated. All I need the microphone to do is PTT and talk into it. All the other functions that they stick on the microphone, I don't need that. That's maddening to me. You grab a Kenwood microphone, it has PTT. Some microphones have DTMF buttons on them, and that's nice. They're actually, it takes a little bit of effort. So if you lay that microphone on the seat, you're not going to accidentally key DTMF buttons, whereas with the Anytone mic, you may. I don't know. So, there's just a difference in these radios, and it's significant. And so Noonan 120, Carmine has set the bar, in my mind, as to how to go about building a Class A radio station for GMRS radio. And that's kind of funny that he showed up at your front door.
He's a nice welcome.
He's a lot of fun to spend time with. I've had some conversations with Carmine, and he's a great guy. So, Orestes, glad you got a good neighbor down there. And yeah, you talked about some of the things on the website. You'd made mention of the on-air procedures, and there's many other things on the website that can help a new user learn about operating a radio, on the network. One of the things that Bobby always says for new users is listen. And while that's important to listen to how we kind of behave and operate on the network, my argument is this: the most important thing in becoming a GMRS radio operator is to get on the air. Even if you come on the air and you say your TAC number wrong, or you say the wrong call sign, or you get the letters goofed up or whatever, we can fix all that stuff later. I don't care if you come on and you say your call sign instead of your TAC number, or you don't know what a TAC number is. We can fix all of that. Just get on the air. I want to hear you on the air. I want to hear you learn and improve and become one of the best radio operators on the North Georgia GMRS Network. And I think we all have that potential in us. Every one of us has room to improve in our radio operations. And, every one of us also has something that we can share and instill in those around us. So good stuff. And with that is the end of the roster. I've got a handful of YouTube check-ins. I was supposed to go to Mike about 4 check-ins ago. Let me see if Blue Ridge 63 has fallen asleep, if he has any YouTube comments he wants to bring to us.
Blue Ridge 63 here, no, have not fallen asleep yet. There are several new members or guests that have chimed in on various comments and have had some conversation in the YouTube chat tonight. Do you want me to just kind of run down and hit a few of those?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
All right, well, I'm going to scroll up here towards the top. There's some interest in the beans that you spilled earlier. A couple people interested in the new developments that they think they heard. Also, some good advice regarding check-ins and conversation about how to check in and who can check in and access to the network as a guest before becoming a member. So I'm going to sort of round up, I don't know what it is, 3, 4, 5 of those questions and just give sort of a quick blanket answer. I'll try to keep it fairly brief, but we do welcome guests who are not active members of the network yet to try out the network. You're more than welcome, provided that you have an FCC call sign, to come on and test the network. Find the repeater that's closest to you and key up and call out and see if someone will come back to you. Generally speaking, almost any time of day, maybe with the exception of the wee hours of the morning, somebody, at least a few people are listening and are happy to have a conversation with you, so that you can get a radio check. You can hear how the network sounds to you from your location, and you can get a report on how you sound back to the network, your signal quality. You do not need to be a paid member to do that. If you're tuning in on YouTube, one of the other questions, yes, you can check in as a guest through the YouTube chat. We're happy to add you to the log, and if you decide to become a member later, that's great. That's great. Let me break real quick. There's also some conversation about the 4th of July, since that's one of our other topics for this evening, and plans for the holiday. Some good advice from Adam, who says, don't drink and use fireworks. And I think that's astute advice and something we could all pay attention to. Oh, let me see. I had a couple more that I was gonna bring up. Give me just a second, though. I need to find them. We've actually had a load of comments tonight, and I've lost the other two that I wanted to get to. Let me throw it back to you for just a minute while I find those.
Well, that's good stuff, Mike, and yeah, I'll come right back to you here while you're looking for that. Maybe I can buy you just a minute here, and but I want to kind of emphasize what you'd commented about. If you're not a member of North Georgia GMRS and you want to think about whether you want to become a member, I would invite you to come on the air with your valid FCC call sign and check into a net. This net or any other net on the North Georgia GMRS Network, check in, get a feel for how your radio performs, for how you can hear things on the air. Sometimes you hear, but you can't get out because, if you're on an HT, HTs tend to have great ears and very, very weak legs. So they don't talk as far as they hear. If you can't get out with an HT, you might have to improve your radio or improve your antenna to be able to get that extra performance so that you can make it to a repeater. But as a licensed GMRS operator, we invite you to check out the network, make some radio checks, engage in a couple of conversations, do it while you're at work, do it while you're at home, do it while you're at church, do it while you're in the park, do it while you're walking the dogs. See what the radio performance is going to be for you, and then consider becoming a member. The last thing I want is for you to become a member and then decide that you're dissatisfied with the performance of the network. We are a nonprofit and we cannot issue a refund. So if you're unhappy with us after you've become a member, thank you for the donation. I can't give you your money back. We just can't do that. So before you become a supporting, contributing member of North Georgia GMRS Network, I want to be sure that you're going to be satisfied with the network. And we do run into this from time to time. It's unfortunate. Fortunately, it doesn't happen very often that somebody asks us to refund their membership dues. But just know that I would rather have you come on the air and bother us with some radio checks than have you just out of the gate become a member and decide you're dissatisfied. So, Mike, does that buy you the minute that you needed?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, and good additional info there. So at the top of the roster tonight, we had Atlanta 317 David, who was calling out to or referring to a guest, someone that he had met on the air and had a quick conversation with, and that's Tim. Tim's in the comments. Tim raised his hand in the comments and said he was the one talking to David earlier, and he was also one of the ones asking about checking in on the YouTube comments. And so Tim, if you're still listening, if you're still on YouTube, welcome. That was David Atlanta 317 that you were talking to earlier. Also at the top of the net, as I was doing the announcements, I covered the portion about the Kennesaw lunch gathering where Atlanta 557 Ed does the Meet and Geek lunch meetup, or after lunch, I suppose, where they'll provide a little technical support, limited tech support for your radio programming if you need help getting a radio set up or updating your code plug. And one comment that Ed made in the YouTube chat that I think I'll just share there is that he also makes mention of Meshtastic nodes. So for those, I know we have several members who are active and some who are just casually interested and some who want to learn more about Meshtastic. Ed has a wide breadth of knowledge on Meshtastic, and he makes mention that if you have one of those, they're happy to help you get that set up as well. Meshtastic's been growing, so I think more and more you'll find that it's a little easier to make contacts in and around the Atlanta metro area there. All right, let me break. All right, and last but not least from the YouTube comments, I just lost it again. There's so many tonight. Well, I'm not finding it, so I won't hold the network any longer. If I find it, I'll shoot you a message, and maybe we can come back around towards the end. But yeah, a lot of good conversation in the chat tonight. With that, I'll send it back to you.
Well, good stuff, and some great participation from our friends on the YouTube channel. Great to have all of you along tonight. I love the interaction that we're able to start doing with the YouTube listeners, viewers. That's very cool stuff. All right, that does bring us to the end of our roster. So as we often do, we're going to take one final round of check-ins. Well, one last call for check-ins from any repeater anywhere. Just before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge a small handful of YouTube check-ins that came in along the way. We have Atlanta 379 Scott from Sandy Creek, New York. Thank you for checking in tonight. We have a guest check-in from WSIX 259. We don't have a name with that, but thanks for checking in with us tonight. We have Atlanta 123 Jarius in Allenwood checking in on YouTube. Atlanta 355 Damon in Canton, also a YouTube check-in. We have WSFJ 254. Brant is a guest check-in from Cohen, Tennessee. And we have Atlanta's 273 Mitchell in Canton also checking in on YouTube. With that, we're going to open up check-ins. One final round of check-ins. Any questions or comments? The floor is open. Net Control standing by.
This is WSIS 715, Chattanooga 51, in and out.
McDonough 22 has a comment when y'all get around to it.
Chattanooga 260, excited to see maybe something on Dugout Mountain one day.
I didn't hear what he said. Sometimes look at Mountain or something. Mountain. Chat 260.
Yeah, I heard it was through 260. I just didn't hear what he said. All right. We don't need to wait for Zello check-ins, so I'm going to go ahead and call it right here. We had Chattanooga 5-1. Howard in Saudi Daisy is in and out, and we have comments from McDonough 22 and Chattanooga 260. So Howard's in and out. We're going to go ahead and go straight to Tim, McDonough 22. One of the things that I'd like to make note of, Tim has been probably one of our biggest advocates for new users, trying to figure out a radio, trying to learn how to program, helping people understand how the PL tones work and how to program those into a radio. Tim he'll go to the internet and he'll find the manual for your radio, and he'll read the manual for your radio and then tell you what the manual said that you could have looked up for yourself. But Tim has just always been the guy that wants to make sure that you can make that radio work and get on the air. And that's one thing that he doesn't get anywhere near enough appreciation for. So, Tim, I just want to say I really do appreciate you and what you've done for the network and for the new members and the level of support that you've provided over the years to all these folks. And let's hear your comment.
Okay, Justin. Well, thanks for those kind words. I definitely appreciate it, and I just consider myself paying it forward because I was a real dummy when I started out, and several people helped me get into it, get started. So I'm just trying to pay it back, pay it forward, and help other folks out along there. So, but anyway, my comment was I didn't catch the gentleman's name or tag number from Noonan that said he wants to, get involved in, meetings somewhere, and he said he lives close to Noonan 120 out there, Carmine, and evidently Carmine showed up on his door one day. So if he's still listening, I just want to tell him we over here it's a little bit of a drive, but Carmen has been coming to all the McDonough meetings for several months now, and he plans to come to the next one. So a week from this Saturday, I think it's the 12th of July, we have our monthly breakfast meeting here in Stockbridge with all the McDonough contingent meeting over here at Pappy's Restaurant on Rock Quarry Road, sorry. So if he will get with Carmine, maybe they can do a little ride share, or he can follow Carmine or whatever, but or he can contact me, McDonough 22, and I'll give him the information. But if he lives close to Carmine, Carmine can tell him all about it too. So I just wanted to tell him he's welcome to come join us at our monthly breakfast meeting a week from this Saturday.
Oh, that's very good. Tim, I'd kind of forgotten all about the gathering that you have down there. Is that still on Saturdays once a month? How does that typically rotate? Talk a little bit about that, if you would. And by the way, it was Noonan 40 Orestes that was asking about that. So Orestes, McDonough 22 Tim here has organized a monthly, I believe it's a breakfast. Tim, let me get out of the way and let you talk about it.
Okay, well, most months we get together down here. Now, some months, if there are holidays or other things going on, we have to skip a month every once in a while. It's not on any specific or given Saturday, but it's almost always a Saturday morning. Well, it always has been on a Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Then we eat breakfast together, meet, and talk, chat, chew the fat, and all that good stuff till usually around 11 o'clock. Things start breaking up a little bit here in Stockbridge, but it actually started at the suggestion of Lance McDonough 32. Back when he first became a member, he said, hey, we ought to get together. Bruce McDonough 39 is the actual organizer, and he's the one that sends out the email to everybody once he decides what the best. He tries to fit our meetings in around everything else. It seems like there's always a ham meeting going on, or some other holiday or something like that. Definitely we wouldn't have wanted to do it this coming Saturday because of the July the 4th weekend. So we put it to or Bruce did, put it to the weekend after that. So this particular month, it just happens to be on Saturday the 12th. It usually is somewhere around the 2nd to the 4th Saturday of the month. But May, I think it was in May, it was the first Saturday of the month because we didn't have a meeting in April because of the, I think it was the barbecue, the Smith family barbecue there. So, anyway, that's all I can think of right now. But it's usually once a month. Bruce McDonough 39, once he gets you on the email list, you'll receive an email once a month telling you what the date is, about a week or so in advance, so that you know in plenty of time to know if you can make it or not there. So that's all I can think of. Back to net control.
All right, Tim. Well, thank you very much for that, and hopefully Orestes is still listening and caught all of that, and he can engage in that going forward. Free Salad, did you have any final thoughts to offer here? I want to go to Colt here in just a moment, and I did not hear what he said when he came on there. So we're going to go to Colt and clarify that, but I want to give you a chance for any additional YouTube comments or any of your own.
No, I appreciate it. Good net tonight. I don't have any other comments or contributions for the net. And nothing more from the YouTube chat. Good discussion in there tonight. And if you haven't been able to join us on the YouTube channel for one of the live streams before, encourage you to do so. There's a lot of normal, regular members, as well as new guests that regularly make appearances in the YouTube chat. So check it out if you haven't had a chance already. That'll do it for me, though. I'll hand it back to you, Blue Ridge 63.
All right, thank you, Mike. Be careful deep underground in that highly secure bunker, and we look forward to seeing you back on the ridge very soon. Chattanooga 260 Colt, when you came on with your comment, we had air conditioning going, fan blowing, and audio was just a bit low. I have no idea what you said. Can you come back with that?
This is Chattanooga 260 WDS 494 from the great downtown Dalton, Georgia. I was making a funny, sir, saying that Duck Gap Mountain would be a perfect place for a GMRS repeater since it has everything but that. You know, the year was 1959, July 17th, 1959, when the U.S. government said, hey, an AT&T long line site would be great for Duck Gap Mountain because of its vicinity between Atlanta and Chattanooga. I think the year is 2025 would be a great site for a North Georgia GMRS repeater. Clear.
Well, there is certainly that potential. I'm not sure where that is, but if the property owner there would extend an invitation, we would certainly consider it. So with that, who knows? That could be the very next North Georgia GMRS repeater location. You know, those AT&T long lines facilities are remarkable. Have you ever been in one? Have you ever seen?
Don't think so.
So you see towers built, and you kind of the lattice structure. Well, just consider the towers that you have seen, and consider the members, the structure of the tower, double or triple that in thickness, and rigidity and weight and solidness, and now you have a long lines tower. They are stout. They are substantial, and the buildings are meant to be able to survive all but a direct hit.
Wow.
So they will stand for a long time, whether we want them to or not.
Well, that's good though, because housing radio equipment and all the cables and different things, it needs to be robust.
Well, and so that's the other thing that I'd like to make mention. And our experience has been when you get into an environment where there is a lot of existing equipment, if there's a television station broadcasting nearby, if there's a lot of public service equipment, sometimes the noise floor becomes high enough that it's really hard to make GMRS play well in that environment. We do have some tricks that we can employ that, for instance, Pine Log Mountain was successful for a lot of years until that property changed hands. So there are some things that we can do to work in those environments, but often the best choice is to just find a location somewhere else. So if it's a location that has a lot of current equipment and activity, it might not be the place we want to be. We get along well with amateur radio, but some of the commercial stuff that operates near 460 can really wreak havoc on our receive. It desenses our radio to the point where it's hard for us to get that back. So good stuff. Well, that will bring us to the end of tonight's net. So for those of you that have stuck around this long, congratulations. This is one of our longer nets. But this will conclude the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of, what do we have? We had a total of 75 chickens, including net control. At this time, net control will be returning all of the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, comments on the YouTube videos show engagement with the video and help the channel grow. Tune in next week on any North Georgia GMRS linked repeater or the YouTube live stream, and we're going to talk about, what are we talking about next week? I looked it
very,
up.
very exciting.
I looked it up, and I don't remember what it is. Okay, so next week, the topic that we have on our calendar here is emergency and urgent comms. So stick around. We'll talk about that. We do have some emergency oriented nets coming up. This is maybe slightly stepping on the rabbit hole, but we've done it for years, and we'll continue doing this emergency series along with our tech series and the other stuff that we typically do. So next week, emergency and urgent comms will be the topic of the program. Let me move back to the correct page here. I want to say thanks to all of you for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening as best we could. We'll do better next week, I'm sure. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. This is Atlanta 946, WQYR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network. And we are clear. Good night, everyone.
WRA 241, Atlanta 4.